you say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. I just want to see you. I just want to see you. Just want to see you. I want to see you be brave. Just want to see you. I just want to see you. Just want to see you. I want to see you be brave.
But why is there so much stigma attached to mental illness when it's not? There's no stigma to have other diseases like cancer. It's not unusual to hear people with mental illness described as weak, lazy, violent, unmotivated. And conversely, people battling cancer are described as strong, brave, determined, and courageous. It all has to do with what is perceived to be under a person's control, a huge misconception for all mental illness. It's been well documented that stigma is a deterrent to seeking treatment. And untreated mental illness robs people of the very things that define quality of life. Imagine taking your child to an emergency room with a broken leg, and the doctor saying to you, he has to fix it himself because he fell off his bike, it's his fault. This is stigma at its worst. This is stigma that discriminates, and the stigma is everywhere. It's in the media, it's in the words we use, and it's in our attitudes. 3 out of 4 people that struggle with mental illness report feeling stigmatized. Have you ever called anybody crazy? Did you mean that in a compassionate way? I ask you to stop and think before casually using those words because they are demeaning and they contribute to stigma. I think people use those words because they don't truly understand that mental illnesses are real illnesses. Brain chemistry contributes to brain illness.
Well, to show you how insidious stigma can be, let's do a little thought exercise. Imagine that you were invited to celebrate your boss's 50th birthday party, and you were picked to give the toast. But on the day of the event, you got sick, and you had to cancel. When you called to cancel, would you prefer to say that you couldn't come because you had a kidney stone, or that you were depressed and suicidal? Or would you rather say that you threw out your back or were having a panic attack? Or would you rather explain that you were having a migraine headache or you were strung out on prescription pain medication? If you would prefer the former to the latter in each case, you, my friends, are affected by stigma. Now, I experience stigma every day as a psychiatrist. The profession to which I've dedicated my life is the most denigrated and distrusted of all medical specialties. There's no anti-cardiology movement that's trying to stamp out cardiology. And there's no anti-oncology movement that's trying to ban cancer treatment. But there's a virulent anti-psychiatry movement that claims there's no such thing as mental illness and wants to eliminate psychiatry. Now, if we thought of mental illness like we do heart disease, then symptoms like depression would be like chest pain, or anxiety would be like shortness of breath, or psychosis would be like an arrhythmia. In the former case, the symptoms emanate from the brain. In the latter case, they emanate from the heart.
Have you ever wondered about the difference between the terms mental health, mental distress, or mental illness? The language out there can be confusing, and sometimes even conflicting. When we use phrases such as mental health issue, mental wellness, or mental problem, no one really knows what we're talking about. Using the correct language not only helps us to intervene more effectively, but it also reduces stigma. We've got a tool to help everyone get on the same page when it comes to talking about mental health. We like to think of it in terms of a pyramid with these 4 different states. Everyone falls somewhere on the pyramid, with more people on the bottom and less at the top. In the bottom category, we have no distress or no problem. Everything's going fine, and we're generally enjoying ourselves. We may be spending time with friends, attending school, or even sleeping. One level up, we have mental distress. Mental distress refers to the everyday problems that we encounter. These are things that irritate us, things that we're worried about, or problems that come our way. For example, we might have an upcoming presentation to give, or we may have had conflict with a friend or had a flat tire. When this happens, our brain sends us a signal. It's called the stress response. Our stress response is the basis of resilience and adaptation. Once we successfully solve the problem, the stress response usually goes away because we've developed the skills we needed to adapt. We don't want to go out of our way and protect ourselves from these normal stressors of everyday life, because problem solving through these stressors is how we ultimately develop resiliency and the capacity to become successful adults. But oftentimes in life, we're faced with problems in our environment that are simply too big for us to quickly solve or deep breathe our way through. That's what we call a mental health problem, which is the 3rd level up in the pyramid. Mental health problems are serious events such as a parent dying, having a divorce in your family, moving to a new country without sufficient resources. Mental health problems may keep us up at night. They may cause intense emotions, and they may last for a long period of time. But remember, they're normal. These are difficult times when it's important to reach out to others for help. Mental health problems may require the support of friends, family, counseling, or just time. The top of the pyramid, reserved for the fewest number of people, is a mental disorder or mental illness. This includes diagnoses such as clinical depression, clinical anxiety, or bipolar disorder. A mental disorder is very different than a mental health problem. This is where we see something going on in the brain, a perturbation of usual brain functioning. This is where evidence-based medical and therapeutic treatment is needed by specially trained professionals. Remember, the pyramid is not a continuum. Mental distress does not necessarily lead to a mental health problem or to a mental illness. In fact, we can even be at each level of the pyramid at the same time. For instance, someone can have ADHD, a mental disorder, be grieving the loss of a loved one, mental problem, have an upcoming exam that they're worried about, mental distress, and sometimes they can just forget all about it and feel fine. All of these levels or components of the pyramid are part of our overall mental health. We need to make sure that we don't define good mental health as never having a bad mood. Good mental health includes a wide variety of emotional states. There are times when we are frustrated, indifferent, happy, sad, lazy, joyous. These are all parts of life and normal fluctuations in our mood. If a person has a mental illness, it doesn't mean that they lose their mental health. So let's start using the correct language, because it really does matter. Depression is not the same as feeling sad, and ADHD is not the same as being hyperactive. When we speak from a common framework, we're reducing stigma and building the foundation for better mental health care for everyone.
Anxiety is the body's natural response to danger. When our cave-dwelling selves got into trouble, our primitive brains would trigger an anxiety response to help us deal with a life-threatening situation. This is known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. Once we dealt with the danger, the anxious feeling would subside and we'd feel normal again. The problem is, our brains haven't changed an awful lot since then, and they can still perceive everyday stresses as life-threatening. When the responses aren't dealt with properly, they can build up over time and cause anxiety disorders. Here are 9 practical tips to help you start living with anxiety. Learn. The more you know about anxiety, the better. There are a ton of books, podcasts, and videos out there to get you started. Sleep. Establishing a good sleep routine and getting the right amount of sleep will help reduce anxiety. Dreaming helps the brain declutter itself of those unresolved anxiety responses. Exercise. Getting plenty of exercise reduces the amount of stress hormones in your body, which build up when your body goes into fight or flight mode. Don't smoke. People often smoke to calm their nerves, but cigarettes actually contain substances that can trigger anxiety and trick your body into fight or flight mode. Diet. Too much sugar can cause anxiety, as can coffee, tea, and alcohol. Eating a healthy, balanced diet helps reduce anxiety. Positive thinking. When you're having negative thoughts, challenge them. Repeat positive thoughts instead. Anxiety can't take hold when you're in a positive frame of mind. Visualize success. The primitive brain doesn't know the difference between imaginary threats and real ones. So instead of constantly worrying about failure, treat stressful scenarios as a challenge. Visualize yourself succeeding, and you might be pleasantly surprised. Relax. Try some guided meditation, mindfulness in household tasks, or just spend some time doing something you really enjoy. Give your brain a break from its cycle of negative thinking, even if it's just for a short time. Therapy. Seeking help from a professional therapist can help you form a game plan in dealing with anxiety, as well as offering a different perspective and alternative methods of treatment. Anxiety can often feel like an unwinnable fight, so it helps to have someone in your corner.
Life happens. Resilience is the process of successfully bouncing back from stress, and it can be learned and developed in anyone. There will always be unexpected bumps in the road, but reframing challenges can make a big difference in how you face a situation. Try to stay flexible to life's inevitable surprises. Resilient people are not paralyzed by challenges. Instead, they work through the challenges and learn to make the best of the situation. Flexibility is an essential part of resilience, and sometimes you have to adapt to situations that you can't control. Accept that reality, remain positive, and focus your energy on things you can control. Try to view the situation in a matter-of-fact way and set reasonable goals. If you're getting overwhelmed, break the challenges down to small, manageable steps. Having a strong support network is a great way to get through life's challenges. Sharing your feelings with others allows you to release stress and brainstorm solutions, and a strong network can provide both emotional and logistical support in a crisis. Life happens, but you can learn to bounce back.
We spend a lot of time trying to change other people. There is, after all, so much wrong with them. They're selfish, arrogant, bullying, weak, cold, needy, and so on. So we try to point some of this stuff out, and often meet with resistance, denial, or sheer indifference. This can be very agitating, and hence renders us cross and severe. Why won't people take our lessons on board? In our behaviour, we tend to be making an implicit distinction between two projects: getting other people to change and changing ourselves. We know we may have to develop in certain ways, but for now, our focus is on altering others. We make an evolution in our own behaviour conditional on evolutions in other people's. We vow that we'll be nicer if they're nicer, that we'll be less strident if they give up shouting. However, we're prone to miss an important insight. Changing how you behave to others can be the fastest way to alter how others behave towards you. People tend, to a remarkable extent, to mirror behaviour. If someone is aggressive around them, they become aggressive back. If someone is gentle, they become soft in return. If someone acts wisely, it'll draw any latent reserves of wisdom out of the audience. We're often in the paradoxical position of advocating one kind of behaviour while making use of quite another. We might angrily suggest that someone else calm down, or we may bullyingly insist to a person that they try to be more empathetic. We deserve sympathy. It's the agitation and anxiety of trying to teach that can easily take us far from the behaviour we're advocating. Here it bears to remember a saying often falsely attributed to Mahatma Gandhi, though eminently useful nevertheless. Be the change you want to see. It captures something key: how sensible it may often be to give up on teaching directly in order to try to teach by example.
This has one great advantage. We can control ourselves, while it's remarkably hard to exert any sort of direct control over anyone else. Our disappointment with other people should be redirected towards exerting control over the one thing we can reliably command, ourselves. Seeing us exhibiting certain virtues has a remarkable ability to inspire others into imitating us. And even if change is not immediate, we can at least take pride in the integrity of our position, knowing that we have had the strength and dignity already to have started to become the change we want to see.
One thing you should always keep in mind: if you want people to change, you must first change yourself. You have to lead by example. You see, that's the key. You have to be the change that you wish to see. You got to be the change you wish to see. There is no combination to the lock, so here's the key. You got to be the change you wish to see in this world. Yeah, I got to be the change I wish to see. There is no combination to the lock, but here's the key. I got to be the change I wish to see in this world. Yeah, a lot of people on this earth expect change in others, but they're never willing to change themselves first. And that's a problem if you think about it. You can't control what people do, and that's why you got to be about it. Be the change that you wish to see. Set an example that shows how you want them to be. Like if you want them to be better, then you must be better too. Inspire the world with the power that's inside of you. Don't try to tell people how they need to be. It's up to you to be that person. Better believe it, that's the way it all works in this world that we live in. We always want things, but what do we all give in, This is food for thought, might not be what you saw, but still I pray that you find your way. The time is now if you're open and you're willing to change. I don't know what the future holds, so I'm starting today. You got to be the change you wish to see. There is no combination to the lock, so here's the key. You got to be